Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Napick. Every week, we talk with interesting people in a variety of professions for ideas to enhance your success in all aspects of life. Successful Living with Bill Napick starts right now. Here's Bill Napick.
Welcome to the show. It is Successful Living with Bill Napick. I'm Bill Napick, and today, Successful Living with Jenna Jackson. She is with Pnr Creative. Also, we are with Sarah Flood. She has a new book called Love All. We're going to find out about Sarah's story and so much more. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bill. Thank you for having us.
Hey, Bill.
Author Sarah Flood. That has a great ring to it, doesn't it, Sarah?
It's a little bit odd to be an author, but yes, I guess.
Well, first of all, Jenna, let's tell people a little bit about Pnr Creative and then how we have Sarah Flood here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Bill. So Pnr Creative, we are a full creative agency. We sort of do anything and everything to help you as a person or you as a customer, company tell your story. So we do branding, PR, media relations, social media, video production, which is where my history is mostly. And for Sarah and I are friends. We met through tennis. We can talk a little bit about that, but she has an incredible story. And so she's recently written a book, Love All, that's out on Amazon for sale right now. It's amazing. And we were discussing her story. And so we just really wanted to kind of help her get it out there more and, promote the book and this incredible story. And it goes for a great cause. So we're always all about that, too.
Well, telling the story, like you said, whether we're a company or individual, that is so important, and our skills at doing so, and also using companies like yourself to help us along the way. So we're going to learn a whole lot, and we're going to find out about Sarah's story as well. So first of all, Sarah, let's tell people about what you're doing right now. We're going to even talk about tennis, and I'm hearing so much about pickleball, so we have a lot to talk about. Sarah, let's tell people about yourself, if you would, please.
Well, Bill, thanks very much, and Jenna for having me on the show. I'm Sarah Flood, and I am originally from the UK, but I'm a tennis pro at the Houston Racket Club. And I currently run the junior program, and I specialize in 12 and under kids. And I've been doing that for a long time, and I love teaching tennis. And I've played tennis for 30 years, and that's why I'm in America, actually, because I came here on a scholarship originally to the University of Houston. But pickleball's kind of taken over my life at this point because it's a lot easier to play, and my body's getting a little older these days. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying that. And so I've had several injuries over the years and surgeries, and based on an accident I had a long time ago in college. And then, so that's why it's easier to play pickleball, but that's also what has motivated me to now write this book and give back to a good cause.
Well, it's interesting. In my world, I didn't hear about pickleball till last year, and now I'm hearing about it almost once a week. And here you are today, pickleball. So how much do you know about pickleball there, Jenna? Just curious. Do you play it also?
I do play, and I've had a tennis injury for the last month or so I've been playing a little more pickleball because it's a little bit easier on your joints and on your body. It's a smaller court. It's smaller rackets. Sarah is the expert at it, but it's really fun, and pretty much anyone can play. We play with our kids. My husband plays,
How big is the ball?
It's like a wiffle ball.
So it's not like is it bigger than a tennis ball?
I think it's like similar.
Yeah, about similar. The same, but it's like, kind of plastic with holes in it.
And it doesn't bounce above your knee, basically, so you have to get good at squatting.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, it's funny, when you mentioned wiffle ball, right away I have memories of wiffle ball. I haven't heard about. I mean, as a child, those were big. I don't know if they still sell those for children, but the wiffle ball, bat and ball, that takes us back, nostalgic indeed. Sarah, let's go back to your story, though. Here you are. You're playing tennis, but also, first of all, what's the inspiration for the book? And the book is called Love All by Sarah Flood. People can get it right there on Amazon and probably other places too. But what was your inspiration for this book?
So a long time ago, when I first came to University of Houston, I came in 2000, and the year before that, in 99, my mum had been diagnosed with melanoma. She had a mole on her foot, and she went and got it checked. It was melanoma. It had grown a little bit. And in England, we had socialized medicine, so you didn't get checked regularly and you had to wait a long time for an appointment. So in the end, they removed it. They thought it was fine, but they didn't do any additional tests. And so a year and a half later, the summer after my freshman year, my mum collapsed and she had 5 brain tumors. And so I had to, I stopped everything that I was doing that summer and I looked after my mum until she died. She lasted 14 weeks. But so my mum's the inspiration behind this entire story because, I had, on top of that, I had an accident on 9/11, the day that I buried my mum. So this is just...
The 9/11.
Yes, in 2001. Okay. Buried my mum at 10. My mum passed away on the 5th of September. And then we arranged a funeral for 9/11 Tuesday morning. We were in the UK and we didn't know what kind of a day that would be in the end. But then after the funeral at 10, we had lunch with friends. And as we pulled into the driveway of my dad's house, a news flash came over the radio and said a plane has hit the Twin Towers. And I had no idea what the Twin Towers were because I was a 19-year-old kid that, I'd only been to Houston. I hadn't been anywhere else. And so we went in. My dad said, this is going to be on the television. Let's go inside. And I watched the second plane fly into the tower, which I'm sure a lot of people did. And they all remember 9/11, where they were, who they were talking to. But then that was my last memory. And I went out in my car, apparently, to deliver paperwork to my mum's law firm. And I'd seen them at the funeral and they'd said, you're leaving back to Houston in 2 days. We really need this signed because my mum had left me her house and you didn't have electronic signature in those days, so you had to sign it. And I went out to do that, and 5 minutes down the road, I had this car accident. And I was doing 60 and so was the other car. I hit the steering column at 120 miles an hour. There were no airbags, and a paramedic revived me through the car window, and I was very lucky. But I woke up on the 5th day. And so I had an odd experience. It was the hardest. It was the biggest fight of my life, really, to get my life back. And so I always wanted to tell this story. And my mum is obviously the driving force for this. And but I named the book Love All because it's 0-0 in tennis. That's the score. We say it every game, love all. But it's also love life for me. I've got a second chance at it. I love the people in my life, and I just love that I'm still here and I get to do what I love. And so that was the message behind the book. And I'm also, I wanted to give back to a greater cause. So I'm donating the proceeds of this book to fund free skin cancer screenings so that we can really, raise awareness and money for a good cause. And hopefully we can help people fight melanoma and other skin cancers and get them before it's too late.
You mentioned that you woke up on the 5th day.
Yeah.
So when you say that, that means 4+ days you were in a coma, unconscious.
So I was on a ventilator in the ICU, and I think I had a 50% chance of living for the first 48 hours. And I think I might have woken up like on the 4th day, but I really don't remember being in the ICU. I remember just waking up in the ward. I woke up opposite a man, Ian, with poles coming out of his head, which was slightly scary. Oh. Because it was a trauma ward. And in the UK, you're in a mixed ward with men and women, so it's kind of interesting compared to the US. But yes, I don't remember anything. I just remember waking up on the 5th day, and I just wrote the book exactly the way I remember it. So I watched the plane fly into the tower, and then I woke up 5 days later.
And out of curiosity, I've never been unconscious, maybe briefly or something, fainting or whatever. But what happened in your case where you were out, so to speak, unconscious? How did things come back? Did they come back gradually? All of a sudden you're there in this trauma ward right there. That's traumatic. Do you remember some of your thoughts as you came back around? Well, it's funny that you asked that, but I don't remember anything to this day for the whole 5 days. Like, I don't remember anything until I woke up. And I was retold everything. I got photos from the police of the car, and because I wanted to remember, but I haven't. And I had this reoccurring dream, or I thought it was a dream, every day while I was in hospital for about a month.
And it was the same thing over and over. You know, it was my dad leaving me at the doors of the emergency room and me being wheeled into the operating theatre, and then me having a chat with the nurse, and then seeing the doctor, and then waking up and the nurse being like taking blood, you know, at my bed. And I asked my dad, you know, after about a month of having this over and over, I said, Dad, it's really weird. I'm having this dream every day. And my dad said, that happened. And that is all I know from that week, that I don't remember anything. But I literally don't remember anything. I remember watching the plane, clear as day in my mind. I see it. And then I woke up on the 5th day, and it's just really odd, but I've never regained anything other than this.
And what were the extent of the injuries physically? Because you're talking about your car and the other car where the crash, you were both going around 60 miles an hour?
Yeah, so this was the third car that was involved, apparently. And of course, I don't know. It's just based on, you know, reports from the police, etc. But there was a third car, and it was overtaking. We were on a really wide road with no median. Speed limit was 60.
And you were on the wrong side of the road, too, probably.
Well, I was on the British side. I was on the British side.
Wrong
For
side.
us. Some people
She's
say
like,
that.
the British side.
The British side,
I was
of
on the
course.
British side.
That's what I meant to say.
And so, yes, we were both doing 60, and there wasn't enough
Wow.
space for this third car to overtake, apparently, according to reports. And so we hit. But I really couldn't tell you because I don't know. And my dad, if he found out or anything happened after that, my dad never told me. So we just moved on. But physically, I was just in a really rough state. I lacerated my liver and my kidneys. I had massive internal bleeding. I broke 8 out of 12 ribs. I broke my jaw in 3 places. I lost all the bone up to my nose and down into my chin. I had 5 years of surgery on my face to rebuild this. Half my teeth are plastic. I have plastic gums. I broke my right hip. I broke my pelvis, and it was an unstable fracture. That's why I had to be in a wheelchair. The engine burnt a hole in my leg. A 9-centimeter gash from the engine of my car went into my leg. And while I was in the car, I've learned this since, but apparently paramedics can do, and doctors can do a test to see how conscious or unconscious you are. And so I think the scale is you're very conscious at 15 and you're not conscious at all at 3. Like you're almost dead at 3, and I was a 4. And I was in the car tachycardic and very pale, struggling to breathe. I had 2 collapsed lungs. I had blood in 1 lung. So I was just in really bad shape. I broke everything basically between my nose and my hips. And so it was really tough to come back from that. And so I was in a wheelchair for 4 months. And then I came back to University of Houston in January on a walker. And it took me 6 months to learn how to walk, and I played tennis a year later.
But Sarah, tell, for people who haven't read your book yet, talk a little bit about before the accident. I mean, you were an incredible tennis player, and you are again now, but this is a terrible accident for anyone to get through, but you were an athlete, right? How hard was it? I mean, talk a little bit about what you were like before the accident and what you had to get back to.
So I started playing tennis when I was 9, and I was an only child, and I was so bored being an only child, and so I found tennis, and it was very lucky. My parents didn't play sports, but my dad put me in a tennis camp, and I was just immediately good at it. I won. It was in England. It was like on a badminton court with a mini net. And it was a spongy ball and like a little plastic bat. It wasn't even really a racket with strings. It was just, and we were just taught, tap it up, get it inside the lines, tap it over the net. There was no major instruction, but I was super athletic and I loved sport. I'd played a little bit of soccer in school, and so I just did tennis all the time. And I ended up playing in high school. I played, 2 hours before school, 6 a.m. to 8:30 before school. Then I'd go to school 9 until lunch. My coach would pick me up and take me for a private tennis lesson at lunchtime. Then I'd go back to school. Then after school, I'd play 3 hours and stayed up till midnight doing homework. And then I'd wake up at 5 a.m. again the next day. But I basically worked my way through the system. So I started in county level. It's a little bit different to America. I think in America, tennis is built through clubs. And in the UK, it was more group-based. It was almost like doing a Harris County training and a Texas training. It was like a region. Mm-hmm. And so like I was in the county and I represented the county. And then if you were in the top 2 of the county, then you could go to regionals. And then I ended up being the top 2 in the regionals. So then you go to nationals. And so I ended up being top 5 in the UK. I played against Kim Clijsters in an international event, Great Britain versus lots of different countries in Europe. And Kim Clijsters ended up going pro the next year and ended up being number 1 in the world and winning several Grand Slams. And she still plays on the Pro Tour now. I grew up with Andy and Jamie Murray. Judy Murray was our chaperone. Jamie Murray's the same age as me. But so there was a lot of us and we all trained and really hard. We played all the time. I did tournaments every weekend. I played Junior Wimbledon qualifying. So in the end, when I turned 18, I was recruited to University of Houston to play Division I tennis on a scholarship, and that sounded a lot more fun than just attending university in England. And actually the year that I was going to come to America, the British government decided to cancel any funding for tennis scholarships in the UK. So that was kind of a big deal because I wasn't going to really get to do a ton of training in school in the UK.
So the University of Houston was a huge opportunity.
Yeah, and it was really fun, and I came and I had no idea what Houston was like. I got here and it was like breathing in a sauna. I stood outside in 110 degrees in August of 2000 and I turned to my dad and I said, "Is it like this? I can't breathe." My dad had no idea either because we hadn't researched anything. We just said yes and we came. But it was the best decision I ever made. So
let's tell people, as far as going back to the injuries, I mean, that is quite a list, an extensive list of injuries. The good news is here you are today. Let's tell people how you are. You walked into the studio. You seem fine. You're still playing tennis and pickleball now. Yep. So let's tell people the recovery and where you're at today, Sarah.
So I ended up being told to wait for a hip replacement. I was 19 when I had this accident. And of course, technology gets better. And they, every surgeon that I saw at the time said, if you keep playing tennis for the University of Houston, you're going to need a hip replacement now. But I'm not the person that really listens to that. Tennis has been my passion and my love and for years. And so I was like, I'm going to go out on my own terms and I'm going to keep playing. And I knew that I was going to have a hip replacement and that was just a risk. But I waited 14 years. And in 2015, I had a hip replacement with Dr. Kreutzer, who's here in Houston. He's an amazing surgeon, innovative orthopedics, and he is a tennis player. He actually came here from Switzerland on a tennis scholarship also, not to Houston, but to America. And he was the first surgeon that really was positive about me playing tennis and still being able to have the life that I wanted and have a hip replacement. And so he actually let me have a hip replacement as part of research. So I actually got a mini hip, which is not the standard hip. It's ceramic on ceramic. It lasts 35 years and it allows, better recovery. And it's just a better hip replacement than you could have normally. And so I was very lucky for that. And I had that when I was 33. And I still do rehab all the time and I try to stretch because my body's not 100% ever. But I'm playing tennis. I played tennis for Texas in Phoenix last November. In the 35s. I just played the clay court nationals at the Houston Racket Club a week ago, and I played pickleball nationals last December. I won a gold and a silver in the nationals in Palm Springs. So I'm still very active, but I just have to make sure that I, stretch and look after my body as much as I can.
She's an amazing player, though. She's
You're
very
sweet,
humble.
Jenna.
As far as out of curiosity, other than the physical things you have done and continue to do to stay in shape, what about food? Is there any nutritional things that you're doing or any kind of diet that you're on that may have helped your recovery speed along as it's incredible?
I mean, just, trying to make good choices and try to be healthy. I still love a cheeseburger.
I was
every
thinking
now and
hamburgers
then.
there for a
yeah,
second.
I mean, I
insane.
absolutely love them. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you have to just try to be realistic and I still want to enjoy my life, but try to drink a little bit more water than I used to. But yeah, nothing specific, but I mean, I really try to get massage, stretch and do those type of things to really look after my body because especially after even, one day of tennis, I'm sore, and then I have to go out and teach, 8 hours. And so it's also my living also. So I have to just...
As far as teaching tennis.
Yeah.
And pickleball too?
I teach pickleball too, yeah. It's very fun.
We'll talk about pickleball here coming up,
I have
Jenna.
a feeling we're going to have a lesson.
We're going to get down to pickleball.
We need to get you out to the margarita mixer.
I want to try that. I really do. But really I want to go, and not to dwell on what you went through, but I'm just trying to put myself in your place. Being in a wheelchair at a young age, 4 months.
Yeah.
You must have had so many thoughts, and one of them being, will I ever play tennis again? Will I ever walk again?
Right.
I mean, just being able to walk again would be huge, because there was no guarantee, I'm guessing, that you were going to be able to walk even.
Yeah, I was very lucky actually that apparently, I didn't know this, of course, my dad told me later, but my coach from, University of Houston, I told her when I left to go back and see my mum, I told her I'm going to come back in 2 weeks. Like, I've booked my flight for 2 weeks because they told me, your mum's going to pass away in the next 24 hours. Then my mum was in a coma, and 5 days later she was still with us, and so it just took a lot longer than we had expected. And so I told my coach, I'll be back. And then when I didn't come back and my dad told her what happened, apparently the second day that I was on the ventilator, she told my dad, even if Sarah never walks again, she will have a scholarship at the University of Houston and she can come back, which was huge because it gave me hope when I found out this. And I actually acknowledge her in the front of the book, Coach Jen Hyde, but she gave me the opportunity to come back and do the rehab at the school at University of Houston and really try to push myself to come back on the court. And so, and it was tough being in a wheelchair. I did weights, and I wasn't probably supposed to, but I just was trying to do everything I could to get back. And it was also hard not to get, down and depressed about it, because you have moments where you question everything and you don't know if you'll make it back. But and it was really interesting because sometimes I got treated a little differently because I was in a wheelchair. The person pushing me would have a chat with the person I knew, and not really the person I knew having a chat with me. So it was really interesting also, that dynamic
like
to
you
see.
Weren't there in a way.
Almost like I wasn't there, or it made them feel awkward that I was in this situation. I mean, I was missing half my teeth, so maybe I looked scary. But
I'm going back to the guy with the pole. And,
I think he looks less scary than him.
I mean, I had hardly any teeth in the front. And so it was just it was an odd situation. And I think in the end, it's just you have to go day by day and just get through that. But I've always been super positive and always tried to look, I'm a glass half full kind of person, and I've always tried to be that way. And so it was the same for this.
We're talking with Jenna Jackson and Sarah Flood. Sarah is the author of Love All. We're hearing her story. In the event, Sarah, right now, maybe there's someone that hears this that is in a tough way. Maybe they're in a wheelchair and they don't know if they're going to be able to walk again. Maybe they're in some kind of other distress, physical or otherwise. Give them a word of encouragement in terms of what it took mentally to be able, because there's two things here. There's the physical that you had to overcome, I guess, with rehab and the body healing, the work that the doctors were doing. But what about the mindset? That seems to be mostly up to us and up to you at that point. What would you tell someone how important the mindset is to overcome and to be able to walk again or to be able to do anything again?
It's very important to be positive. There's a lot of people in life that, maybe try to put you down or they're negative towards you, and it's just not healthy for you. You have to be positive, and you have to really look at what you want. I say in the back of the book, I've put a little chapter to the reader because I really wanted them to understand that you have to find something you love and you have to be determined to go get it. And that has to be your driving force. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be someone in your life. It could be something in your life. It could be a passion that you have. Mine's always been tennis. When I talk about this in the book, but when I was getting the pelvic frame taken out of me, it was my opportunity to get out of my wheelchair, and it hurt like crazy. And then once we got it off and I could stand up, I felt like so weak. I think I'd gone from 125 pounds to 90 pounds, and I literally just almost fell onto the walker. And I was exhausted just from this movement. And then I looked down and the walker had 2 tennis balls on the legs. And that was my why. That was my why. I was like, this is why I'm doing this. Like I'm struggling right now, but I want this life back. And those 2 tennis balls on the walker pushed me to take an extra step that day. And so you just have to find something that you love, because if you have that and you have the motivation to get that, you'll do anything you can to get that. And of course, people's situations are all different, but I really believe that positive mentality really, really helps. So, hopefully I'll also be able to inspire people to go and get checked for skin cancer. I actually had someone text me yesterday that read my book, went to get checked, and had a pre-melanoma removed yesterday.
Wow.
So I've already helped someone, but I really hope that people come to Athleta Town and Country this Friday for my book signing. They've offered to launch my book party there, so thanks to Athleta. That's going to be really, really fun, but it's the Athleta Town and Country, and hopefully people will come out and support the book.
I think it's awesome. Sarah, so are you kind of working with local charities who do these free screenings, or how are you doing that? I know you're not focusing on one charity, but how are you kind of, getting that done with the free screenings and the awareness there?
So to raise money in general, I am going to give the proceeds to free skin cancer screenings, and there's a lot of places that do that. The American Academy of Dermatology across the entire nation runs free screenings. They've done like over 270,000 free screenings, and I think they found already 33,000 melanomas, which they would never have found if they hadn't have done free screenings. And I really believe that detection early is the key, and a lot of people just don't go get checked.
You don't
my
think
bill,
about it.
Right, and my bill when I go is $400 every time because it's not covered by insurance.
Right.
And so there's a lot of people that just opt out.
Or can't afford it, right?
Right, exactly right. And so I'm looking into different places, but the American Academy of Dermatology does them across the entire nation, which I think is great because it's not just one local area, it's everywhere. And my goal is eventually to host my own free screening, which I need to look into. I haven't done a lot of research on that yet. But I've been partnering with people like at the National Senior Women's last week. I partnered with them, so I gave a little bit of money back to them, and then the other part of the money will go to the free screenings. And so that's just my goal. And the more readers I reach, the more money I can raise and the more awareness we raise.
I will also say here in Houston, Texas, and I ran across this in terms of my own skin issues. I can't say the word dermatological anyway,
that's a big word.
But I ran across this where we have some of the best dermatologists in the probably the world right here in Houston, Texas. And there's also a difference with the doctors that you can choose whatever your medical plan is, but we have some great medical talent here. All that to say that. But yes, get a screening. It's important.
Yeah.
And it's scary too, the fact that when you were talking about your mom, a little mole. I mean, we see moles all the time. There's all sorts of things on our skin. In fact, that itself is scary. You ever look in those mirrors that magnify your face so many times?
I try not to.
When I look in that, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's happening to my face? And there are so many different things on our bodies that,
you think
bottom
it's
line goes,
no big deal.
Well, you don't know.
And you don't know. It's a great awareness thing.
In fact, I had the issue I had many years ago was picture the spot that you cannot see in the very center of your back. Mm-hmm. Like I never see that.
How in the world would you know
I never see
there?
that spot, but I went to a dermatologist and she said, hey, you got an issue here. She took it out. It was a problem. Case closed. She says, now you have to get checked every year. Oh, wow. But that was the most remote spot. I'm like, I can't see back there. How did you know?
Crazy,
so anyway, bottom line, if you're out there listening, and I bet there's people that have never seen a dermatologist because they don't understand how. I never thought it was important until I heard stories and had my own issue. But yes, go get checked out right here in Houston.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you do something like tennis or pickleball because we're in the sun
you got
all
the sun.
The time.
And, it's not like we live in Minnesota. We have a lot of sun here and a lot of rain. Yeah. So that makes me want to say, remind people that we're talking with Sarah Flood. We're coming into hurricane season. Sarah, there's a little bit of flooding, but you have a name that's easy to remember. The book is called Love All. The author is with us today. We're hearing her story. Sarah Flood. That's right. Sarah, what else do you want people to know about your experience? And then maybe we're going to start talking about pickleball here in a second. I'm feeling that.
Well, I mean, I just want people to know that, like, you know, don't sweat the small stuff, you know. There's stuff that goes on that's tough, and you never know who you're coming across every day, and you don't know what they're going through. And so just be nice to everyone and just be a positive person and just, you know, grab life with two hands and make it as good as you can make it. You don't know how long you're here. And just really enjoy it. Do something that you love. That's my main message, I think, because if you wake up every day and you do something you love, then, you know, it's easy. But just would like everyone to, like, really take this as a positive thing and just look after yourself and, you know, and look after others also.
I like the be nice message because you never know what someone's story is, right?
Correct.
I mean, I always go back to story and what's your story? Everyone has one, but you never know what someone's been through, and, you know, never hurts to be nice.
That's a good word for right now, to be nice to everybody. Also be aware, too.
And be aware.
You have to, not everybody is nice, unfortunately. As far, let's hit pickleball. Now, there are people that, like me a few years ago, never knew what pickleball was, but apparently people are excited about it. You're in the pickleball world. You're training people. So what is it, and why is it so much fun? And Jenna, you're doing a little pickleball too. I'm understanding.
I'm starting out. I'm an amateur. Sarah is a pro in all senses of the word.
So what is it, and why is it fun?
Well, it's fun because anyone can do it. It's basically a cross between tennis and table tennis. It's a 40 by 20 basically court. It has a 7-foot kitchen. We don't really understand why it's called the kitchen, but
that was going to be my question.
You can't volley in the kitchen. A volley is a ball that you take in the air. It can bounce in the kitchen, but you can't take the ball in the air. So it stops like really big people or tennis fanatics going into the kitchen and just slamming at people. It's a very strategic game where you dink all the time, which is like the equivalent of a drop shot if you're a tennis player and you're listening. But basically the reason I love it is anyone can play this. I've taken 2 people that go to the gym and I've put them against 2 A-level tennis players, and the gym people almost beat the A-level tennis players. So it doesn't matter that you have tennis background, but it's just really fun. And I feel like there are some people that really want to be great at pickleball and take lessons, but the majority of what I do is just running organized play. We do margarita mixes. It's just a fun social sport where the entire family can play it. And I feel like that's why it's growing so fast. You know, I've loved tennis and I've played it 30 years, but, you know, you play a match with 3 people, you can't chat, and it takes a long time. But with pickleball, you play, the game's over in 15 minutes. It's first to 11 points. And you can only win when you're serving, and there's certain little rules. But it's just fast, and you can, you know, play with friends. You can play with 20 people in an hour and a half and meet everyone.
So I was going to say, do you play one-on-one with someone, or is it like tennis where 2-on-2? You could go either way?
Yeah, you can do singles or doubles. Singles is tough because the ball doesn't bounce very high and you're running a lot.
Because it's a wiffle sort of ball.
Yeah.
Kind of dies.
So some people love that if they love a workout, but the reason why it's so popular is because it's so social. So normally, you know, couples come out 2 against 2. You know, I'll have people with a drink in their hand playing. I mean, it's so simple.
No names, Sarah.
Yeah, that's right. But it's just something that anyone can play, and I absolutely love that. And that's why I think it's so popular, because you can literally never have played a racket sport and play within the first 5 minutes of doing this. So
it sounds like even there's laughter involved in this.
I'm
guessing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never played, but I want to
We're going to have to get you
give
out
it
there.
a whirl.
We're going to get you out to the racket
Yeah, we
club
need to get you out. I actually would like to get the mayor out to play, because I'd like to get designated pickleball courts in Memorial Park.
Nice.
Well, they're doing a lot of work in Memorial Park. In fact, we had the president of the Conservancy, I think that's her title, Shelley Arnold, was on the real estate show here not that long ago, and maybe it's not too late.
Yes, I think
pickleball
if we
courts.
could get him out.
Are you sure they don't have them?
They have tennis, and they've just redone it because we had the golf Houston Open, and I think they redid Memorial Park, and they've done an amazing job with it. We've got like that new section with the glades, and it's so pretty down there. But I know for a fact that in the city of Houston and a lot of the US, tennis and pickleball fight for space. Because there are tennis courts already set, but then pickleball lines are being put on them, and then they have to share space. And I think that's tough. And I think pickleball is busy enough that you could have its own designated area in the park and it wouldn't interfere with tennis. But I believe it would be great. In Brenham, they actually went to the city council and they argued that there wasn't enough things for the retired community to do.
Oh, wow.
And they said that would be great for the health of the retired community. And they got 6 pickleball courts in the park.
How fun.
And so I feel like it would be the same for
cool.
Houston. We got so many people, they walk around Memorial and they run around Memorial, and it's like a health spot for people. I feel like pickleball would just be something to add for the health of every individual in the city, but also the retired community.
You know, Jenna, it sounds like someone learned how to tell their story to get that pickleball court. Those
I think so. She's
and they might have been talking to you. All right, now while you guys talk, I'm going to text Sherry Arnold from the Memorial Park Conservancy, because I could be wrong, but I'm wondering when she was on our show about a month ago if she mentioned pickleball. That's even. I'm going to go ahead.
So look,
I'm going to get right on it right now.
Bill knows everyone. Well, when we were, you were just reminding me with your the Brenham story about the courts. I wonder if a similar thing happened. We go every summer with my husband's family. He grew up in Philly. So we go to the Jersey Shore for a week every summer. And this last summer, there were like 8 new pickleball courts. And we had just started hearing about pickleball. And I'm like, what is going on with this sport? It is like blowing up everywhere we go. And it was so fun because like his mom can play, you know, my boys were playing. I mean, the whole family, and we were just kind of rotating out. But what was funny is there was a line of, like, there was a little wait list. We would play around and then move off the court because there were tons of retired, you know, the residents or summer home people there, and they would play around and then move off, and we would kind of join back in. My boys ended up playing with 2 like elderly guys from the neighborhood, and my boys lost terribly. They're great athletes, but I mean, you know, it was fun. It was fun for all ages. But
I mean, we just we have different places around town. I travel around town all the time to play. In Cinco Ranch, they have about 30 people that go out on 2 courts, and we lay our paddles down and we wait for our spot, and then we go play our game. And so that's happening everywhere. They just built the Bumpy Pickle downtown. On the east of downtown, it's called the Bumpy Pickle.
Well, there's a good name.
It's really cool. It's has 9 pickleball
branding.
courts and sand volleyball courts, and it's not fully built yet, but they're already playing pickleball out there. And I've been out there, and that's really fun, and it's a social hangout place. But there are places all around town, and they're packed. But I feel like a big park like Memorial could really like have some courts, and it would be active all the time. And so it's just, you know, even looking at the stats, and it's hard to believe because when you watch pickleball, it's not the best spectator sport. Looks very slow, but it's actually faster than tennis, faster reactions. You have longer rallies, 9-shot rallies versus 4 in tennis. So you get more workout playing pickleball, actually, even though it is a smaller court. You're squatting and you're doing a lot of little steps, and it's cardio. So running. I think it would be something really great to add to the community. And so, yeah, I'm kind of pushing for that, but we'll see.
And pickleball, we could learn it fairly quickly, I'm understanding, right? So that seems to be one of the other attractions.
Yes, I really believe, you know, there's a lot of tennis people and pros that really are against pickleball because they believe it's taking over their space or it's taking over the tennis world.
Ask that.
A little rivalry.
And a lot of people in tennis, they don't like the sound. They see it as a very negative thing. For me, it's super positive. I believe it will grow tennis. And I believe both will grow hand in hand because, you know, a child can play pickleball within an hour. It takes a child to play a tennis match. It takes them 6 months to a year. And normally we lose, you know, I'm the director of juniors at Houston Racket Club, and we have tons of juniors that come out in the younger age group, and that's the age group that I focus on. And we lose them to team sports because they get bored of trying to be good at tennis.
And it's hard.
It's hard. It takes a long time. It's so easy to go out at the beginning to a baseball game when you've got no experience and you're 7 or 8 with friends that you've just made. You're in the dugout hanging out. You swing and you strike out. You miss every ball. You're in the outfield, you know. biting your nails, you're not even playing, but your team wins, you've got to practice this week and you've got a game on the weekend and you get to see those friends again. That's fun. And you're already playing it without really playing it. But with tennis, you need skill to play that. And so for kids to stick in tennis, it's so hard. I feel like pickleball would be a really good introductory route to tennis. And if you can hit the ball in pickleball very quick, then eventually you might grow a love for tennis. But yeah, I think both could grow hand in hand.
And I was just thinking about this. I'm left-handed, but certain sports I am right-handed. Now, are you both right-handed?
Yes.
I am. Yeah.
So both of you, okay. Mm-hmm. So that means if you're going to play pickleball or tennis, you hold the racket with what? Your right hand?
You can. There are some people that can hit with both. In tennis, we go between a one-handed backhand and a two-handed backhand. The really small minority of people are two-handed both sides, but we normally are like one hand on the forehand and two hands on the backhand, or one hand on the backhand. In pickleball, some people do two. It's the same, and a lot of people do one. I've known people to switch hands. They just have a forehand on both sides and they hit with their right on this side and their left. So, but it's such a small paddle. It's like easy to hit. So it's whatever you feel comfortable in the end. As long as you're out there and you're having fun, it doesn't really matter.
The paddle is smaller than the tennis racket?
Very small. So a tennis racket is 27 inches, and I think pickleball paddles are around 17. I mean, it's so small.
They almost look like ping pong.
Yeah, it's just a little bit bigger than a ping pong, like a table tennis paddle, yeah.
See, I like a bigger racket, but as I'm imagining how I would pick up a racket right away, I go with the left hand. Mm-hmm. So I would be a left-handed player there.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So pickleball, it sounds like there's a big future for pickleball. Those of us that are looking for business opportunities.
We need to think about this.
Well, I'm going to tell you what about those guys, the Bumpy Pickle?
Yeah.
Is that what we call it?
Yes,
and that's a
Pickle.
Place?
It's a place in downtown Houston, I think towards the east side.
I know.
Shout out to Daniel and Natalie if you're listening, because they're pros there. But it's a really fun environment to go play, and there's a lot of places around town that do this and play. But it's just a sport where you can get tons of people together and play and make tons of friends in an hour, and so that's why I really love it. But yeah, I think it's really growing fast, and it's because anyone can play it. You don't have to be super fit. You don't have to be, a certain size or shape or skill level. Like, anyone can go play this. I think 2 weekends ago I did an auction item for St. Cecilia School, and I had about 40 mums out there, and none of them had played tennis. Hardly any of them had played tennis, and we all played pickleball, and they had a blast. And they learn it in 5-10 minutes. I mean, it was really amazing. And now they want to keep playing.
Welcome to the Successful Living Pickleball Show, right? Okay, if you didn't think I did research, let me just tell you, I did right here. I Wikipedia'd pickleball the other day, and it turns out it was invented in 1965 as a children's backyard game, much like as we talked about wiffle ball back in my era, but that's fascinating. So we have
about been around that long.
1965. Well, it's not really that long.
But U.S. Like just Open lately, pickle. It's like
just lately.
Somebody's been telling their story, Jenna.
Somebody has, Bill. They must have come to Pnr Creative.
You're going to be you're going to be talking to the team there at Pnr Creative and saying, "Look, we're getting more calls from people involved in pickleball courts and businesses, rackets, and all the gear. What kind of gear is involved? You got paddles, you got balls. Is there certain outfits that we wear that might be attracting people?
Just normal tennis outfits. Normally, I think they have
which is
pickleball
why most
shoes.
of us play tennis. Maybe not Sarah, because she's more serious.
But yeah, they call them pickleball shoes, but I think they're really just tennis shoes, and they call them pickleball shoes. But maybe they are pickleball shoes, but not tons of equipment. It's just, and it's, you only need one paddle, and so you just go out and you play. But it's so fun.
Well, did y'all notice there's an outfit for everything? Marketing is going on full force since the day we were born, and long before that, there is an outfit for everything. We've got about 8-9 minutes left. Before we close the show, we also want to say a word about what you're doing, Jenna Jackson at Pnr Creative. We mentioned that through the show, but people are saying, what is that? Let's tell us again what Pnr Creative is and how you're able to help others get their story out and the other things you're doing, Jenna.
Sure. Well, sort of like we're helping Sarah, everyone has a story, whether you're an individual or a company, and our goal is really to help you tell your story. So there are, in this day and age, so many avenues for that. Social media, traditional media, materials. Radio, television, films. We do documentary films. We do, video production for companies. We do help with PR and media relations, press releases, that sort of thing. So anything that you as a company or an individual can do to connect with your audience that you're trying to reach, that's really what we do. And my history is in video and television production, so 20 years of television producing, I think I've gotten pretty good at telling a story, and everyone has one. So.
And I do want to brag about you. I've just gotten to know you here a little bit. I feel like I've known you a long time, but when I met you, we connected, and your background is spectacular. You worked around one of the biggest journalists in our time that has spanned many decades. Drum roll, please. His name was Dan Rather. Yeah. And in fact,
amazing.
He's amazing. Yeah. You're still in contact with Dan.
I am. He's doing great. He lives in our awesome state of Texas. He's a Texas guy. So, he got back here, I think, as soon as he could. But he's amazing. I met him when he came to give a speech at Sam Houston State University, where we both attended different years. He came back to give a speech. The building was named after him, the communication school, and I was lucky enough to meet him. And he really just took me under his wing and became a mentor. He helped me get an entry-level job at CBS News in New York. I was there for 15 years, mostly crime reporting.
What an experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I'm still in close contact with him. I'm eternally grateful.
Well, maybe he'll hear this show. You never know, right?
I'm going to have to tell him, yes, exactly.
Send him the link. We're talking with Jenna Jackson with Pnr Creative. We could do 2 hours just on your experiences with CBS. Maybe in the future. You're also our new show partner. In addition, we're talking with Sarah Flood. She is the author of Love All, a book that you can pick up on Amazon. That's right, and almost anywhere else where you can get a book. Her name is Sarah Flood, Love All. What a tremendous story. Sarah, what else do you want people to know here before we close things down on the show? And before you run out to the pickleball or tennis court, who knows where you're going? Maybe we'll go have a hamburger. Who knows?
Yeah, the hamburger sounds good. I just, I would like everyone to just enjoy their day and just make it as good as you can make it, love the people around you, you respect others, and if you want to come play tennis or pickleball, then just go out and do it. I mean, it's so fun, but just enjoy this life. You get one shot at it. So, and I'm a living proof of this.
That's right. Your story, if people want to read the book, they can find out more detail about your story, but it sounds like you were in a place that many of us will never get to in terms of challenges. You overcame those challenges. You're here today, and you're here inspiring others as they hear you today and also as they read your book. Inspiration is so important. I want to say a quick word on doing what you love. Along the years, we don't all get to do what we love every day. Now, if you're listening to this show and you're out there and you're saying, man, I don't like my job, or I'm not doing what I love. Well, listen, step number one, count your blessings. You have your health. You have some level of health, whatever it is, start there, count your blessings. And if you're at a place where you're not fully fulfilled or doing what you love, it's the stepping stone to the next one. And it's also your motivation to get and find out what it is. Because there's been times in my life where I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I've been very fortunate these last couple of years to really be doing things that, like John Maxwell says, it's not work unless you'd rather be doing something else. So if you're in a position where you're getting paid and you don't even want the money, or you don't need the money, so to speak, to do the job, to be motivated to do it, that's a good barometer to say, hey, I'm doing what I love. And if you're not there, work at it. You can get there because, here, especially in this country, those possibilities are there. Right, Sarah?
Absolutely right. And have confidence in yourself. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Just go one foot in front of the other and go grab what you love and what you want to do. I mean, it's just everyone makes their own reality. And so I believe just, be as positive as you can and go for it.
And Jenna, as far as in your world, in the times where you've had a challenge or two, give us a word on your mental insight and where you were to overcome that challenge, if you have an example.
Sure.
I mean, your mindset.
I think what you said, Bill, hit the nail on the head is count your blessings. I'm always there's always something wrong. There's always someone who has more than you or more money or better, whatever. And, I always try to go back to what I'm grateful for. And that gets you through whatever you're going through. And for me personally, no matter what I'm going through, I always think about, are the people I love, my kids, my husband, my family, are we healthy? Are we good? Yeah. Then you know what? We're good.
And Sarah, do you have a website where people can reach out to and learn more about the book and things?
Yes, absolutely. sarahfloodtennis.com. Pretty easy. But yeah, sarahfloodtennis.com. I have everything that I'm doing, teaching, achieving, and then also purchasing the book on there too.
sarahfloodtennis.com. And Jenna Jackson, what is your email?
My email is jenna@prcreativegroup.com. And that's our website as well. prcreativegroup.com. prcreativegroup.com.
And I forget who it was, but they asked, as you were talking about, there's always something good, there's always something bad. Yeah. I think it was Pastor Rick Warren. They asked him, well, how's it going? And he actually answered the question like, well, do you really want to know? He says, at any given time, there's good things going on and there's challenging. Yeah. Hey, that's life, right?
It is life.
Keep the right mindset. And once again, Sarah Flood, everybody pick up the book. It is Love All by Sarah Flood. Once again, your website, Sarah, is?
sarahfloodtennis.com. sarahfloodtennis.com.
And then there'll probably be a counterpart, Sarah Flood Pickleball, down the road. Who knows? And Jenna, your website again is?
prcreativegroup.com.
And even I have a website. It is radiobill.net. That's right. You could see this show. The show goes on the YouTube channel. You'll see the guest. In addition, I picked up a new website as far as branding goes there, Jenna. It's called radiowilliam.com. It was available. I said, why not? I'll splurge on the $13.
It's fancy.
So I
like it.
radiobill.net and radiowilliam.com. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Jenna Jackson, Pnr Creative. Thank you, Sarah Flood. All the best. Thank you for the book. I will be reading it. Again, the book is called Love All by Sarah Flood. And thank you all for listening to Successful Living Today with Bill Nampick and with Jenna Jackson and Sarah Flood. And we will see you next week. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.